At a party with friends, his fiancée and his family's fake young master were getting way too close. They were locked in a passionate French kiss, basically eating each other's faces. And all this right in front of his salad, pure rage. He smashed a bottle right there. Their reaction, they laughed it off, calling it a game and telling him not to be so serious. A buzzkill staring at the mess before him, Alex let out a soft chuckle. If this was just a game, he decided to play along. A new round begins now. He conveniently lost this round and chose the ultimate truth or dare. Their dare: kiss a random girl in the room. Khloe Willow watched him. She sat on the sofa looking impossibly smug, probably assuming he'd pick her. To crawl back and choose her, oh, was she in for a huge surprise. Not giving her a second look, Alex walked straight for Damen's ultimate prize. His unattainable crush, the one and only Serena Sterling. This move left Khloe and her squad completely stunned, their jaws hitting the floor. Alex, what are you doing? Isn't Khloe right there? Damen pulled his best sad puppy face, looking at him with fake tears. Brother, we were just playing, I swear. Why won't you believe me? Alex just laughed coldly, with how you two were practically checking each other's tonsils. If a bed was here, you'd be on it. Rolling all over it by now, right? And you're telling me it's a game. Do I look like a clown to you, or do you really just think I'm that stupid? As he walked on toward Serena, his eyes flicked over to Damen. His face was already twisting with pure rage, fists clenched, knuckles bone white. Inside, Alex was cackling internally. Wow, Serena's powerful aura was no joke. He hadn't even gotten close, yet her gaze felt sharp enough to slice him into sashimi. Any second, inside he was panicking, but on the outside, he played it totally cool. Like a guy who absolutely wasn't fearing for his life. Serena Sterling, the undisputed queen of the business world, just watched him with deep amusement. Clearly curious about his next move, he marched right up to her. Do you remember me? Serena nodded. I remember meeting you in the mountains. She smiled, her look full of hidden meaning, not wandering around. Looking homeless today, that single sentence almost made his knees buckle. Does the queen always have to be this sharp? He remembered her words. If I ever needed a favor, I could come to you. Does that offer still stand? He asked. Flashing his most charming smile, Serena's friends exchanged completely baffled looks, clearly sensing the strange, unspoken history between the two of them. Khloe and her posse were completely stunned. They never imagined some country bumpkin like him would be acquainted with the head of the powerful Sterling family. Seeing Alex casually talking with his dream girl, Damen's face turned a brilliant shade of green. And Alex knew exactly what he was thinking. How does a hillbilly, fresh out of the mountains, even have the right to breathe her same air? Serena set her glass down and beckoned him over. He immediately stepped closer. Seeing that flawless face up close, he couldn't help but fanboy out in his mind. Damn, her eyelashes are so long. What kind of skincare routine gives you skin this perfect? So what do you need help with? Serena asked, tilting her head. Alex hesitated for a second. Should he just say it? I need to kiss you. But what if she just judo flipped him out the window, under everyone's watchful eyes? With the whole room watching, he gritted his teeth and planted a quick kiss right on her lips. Oh my God, Serena's friends gasped, rubbing their eyes in utter shock. The untouchable Serena Sterling was just kissed by force. Was this guy insane? Was this kid about to be torn to shreds? Having landed the kiss, he spun around, ready to make a run for his life. But she grabbed his collar unexpectedly and pulled him right down onto the sofa beside her. Serena just studied his face, which looked like it desperately wanted to merge with the floor. You kiss me and now you want to run? She asked, her eyes narrowing. He let out an awkward, stiff laugh. He lost a game, he had to do it. But she was clearly unimpressed with that excuse, so he scrambled to explain. He didn't even like that terrible girl anyway. Anyone who wants her can have her. How could she possibly compare to a queen like Serena? Serena just chuckled, "So you like me?" Staring at her face, he nodded furiously like a woodpecker. Who wouldn't like a gorgeous, villainous boss? Rumor has it her figure is an absolute masterpiece. He wondered if it was true. Serena's smile suddenly turned dangerous. And that's when he realized she had just confirmed she could hear his inner thoughts. She reached out and flicked his forehead hard. "You little wolf cub, kissing me was one thing, but now you're lusting after my body." He looked back at her, completely unrepentant. He was purely admiring her from an academic standpoint. This wasn't lust. And as a result, his academic admiration made her spit out a mouthful of her drink. She quickly waved her hand. "You two carry on." Khloe, her face as dark as a storm cloud, stomped right over and glared at him. "Alexander Wood, what do you think you're doing? Get over here right now." But suddenly feeling a lion's courage, he wrapped an arm around Serena's neck and blinked innocently. "Miss Willow, it's just a game. Why are you so mad? I haven't even given her a French kiss in front of you yet." Instantly, Damen's eyes turned red. "Alex, you're taking this too far. Khloe and I were just playing a game. She's your fiancée. There is absolutely nothing going on between us." Alexander rolled his eyes so hard he could see his own brain, his voice dripping with pure sarcasm. "Oh, you do know Khloe is my fiancée. Then why were you playing tonsil hockey with her for a solid minute right in front of me? Why didn't you think of that? Are you upset because I kissed your precious white moonlight? Do you want me to kiss her again just so you can die of a heart attack, you shameless, two-faced drama king?" And with that, he audaciously turned and nipped Serena's lower lip. Serena supported his waist, looking down at him with a smirk. "Alexander, has anyone ever told you that you have the audacity of a god?" Without a second thought, he gently bit her lip again. As her eyes narrowed, calling him audacious, he thought to himself, who said this queen was a ruthless tyrant? She's actually very gentle and easy to talk to. Seeing him kiss Serena again, Damien was so furious his eyes were bloodshot. He pointed a trembling finger at him. "Alex, you shouldn't grab a random woman just to get revenge. What you're doing is wrong." Khloe's face was completely black. "Alexander Wood, I'll say it one last time. Get over here." Sitting comfortably beside Serena, he just played with her fingers and sneered. "Who do you think you are? Don't forget I am your fiancée." Khloe gritted her teeth. He just burst out laughing, stood up and walked right up, and delivered a hard slap across her face, a loud smack. Damen screamed out, grabbing Khloe's arm and frantically asking if she was hurt. Watching this whole touching melodrama, Alex couldn't resist a slow clap for the two soulmates. Khloe froze, then awkwardly pushed Damen away, but Damen turned to him with pure righteous indignation. "Alex, why would you hit Khloe? Apologize to her right now, and we'll pretend this never happened." The sheer nerve of it all. Alex just mocked him. "Apologize and you'll let it slide." Without another word, he sent a second, echoing slap right across Khloe's other cheek. "How's that for an apology? Did you like it?" At this, Khloe's friends finally broke out of their shock, rushing to stand between them, demanding to know why he got physical. He gave them a cold stare and began listing every single one of Khloe's greatest hits from the last few months. 3 months ago, while they were mountain climbing, she got a single phone call from Damen and just abandoned him halfway up the peak. 1 month ago, during a massive downpour, she dumped him on the side of the road because Damen had the sniffles, causing him to get a high fever for a week that nearly turned into pneumonia. Every single birthday, every Valentine's Day, the moment they get a second alone, Damen's phone call always arrives precisely on time to drag her away. Serena frowned, her voice turning icy. "No wonder you looked so pathetic when I found you in the rain that day, wearing a thin soaked shirt covered in mud, barefoot and bleeding from all the sharp rocks." One of Serena's friends chimed in. "This kid looks like a polite scholar, but who knew he was actually a fire-breathing dragon?" Alex then turned and slapped Damen right across the face, just for good measure. "Don't you just love stealing other people's girlfriends? Well, congratulations, you can keep this trash." He's donating her to you. Damen clutched his cheek, forcing tears into his eyes, still trying to claim that the whole thing was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. You faking an illness to call her away on his birthday is a misunderstanding. You pretending to be stalked on Valentine's Day is a misunderstanding. You sending him selfies of you two together just to provoke him. Do you think his IQ is in the single digits? Khloe glared at him, grinding her teeth. Alexander, you've gone completely insane. What exactly do you want? He just gave her a freezing side-eye. As of today, our engagement is over. Tomorrow, I'll have my parents come to your house to officially call it all off. It's time your parents found out what you've been doing behind everyone's back. Khloe trembled with pure rage. This is an agreement between our two families. You dare cancel the engagement. I'd like to see what woman would ever dare to marry you after this. His gaze then landed on Serena. He walked straight up to her. Boss, I'm breaking off my engagement. Want to marry me? Asking her so directly made him blush a little, but the queen didn't react right away. Serena simply raised an eyebrow, looking him up and down. Marry you, what's in it for me? He tilted his head, giving her his brightest, most dazzling smile. You get a sweet, obedient husband who knows exactly how to warm your bed. You're definitely not losing out on this. She reached out and pinched his cheek. You make a fair point, but it feels like I'm taking a slight loss here. After all, I'd have to feed a lazy couch potato whose cooking skills are questionable and who doesn't even like to work. Hey, you're amazing at making money. Shouldn't you have someone to help you spend it? Besides, who wants to work when you can be a lazy bum? So he immediately hugged her thigh in the most dramatic way possible. He remembers the Wood family has a history of twins. He even suggests they might have two identical and adorable little babies. The hand pinching his cheek suddenly stops. They haven't even had a date yet, and he's already talking about the maternity ward. His mind is on a whole other level. But the idea of two identical babies actually sounded pretty good to her. She glanced at her watch. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. If she doesn't see him at City Hall, he can expect to be thrown into the ocean to feed the sharks. So does she agree. He blinks at her with big puppy dog eyes. Do I need to repeat myself? Nope, not at all. Absolutely not. He shook his head frantically. Serena stood up, grabbing his hand to lead him home, but Damen blocked their way, biting his lip and giving her a pitiful look. President Sterling, my brother already has a fiancée. What he just said was only a joke made in anger. I apologize for him. Seeing Damen's little act, he couldn't help but roll his eyes. Is this guy seriously panicking? Serena draped her coat over his shoulders and said coldly, "You're blocking the way." Hearing that, he couldn't help but laugh, especially at the incredibly wronged look on Damen's face. Oh dear, looks like someone's delusions are flaring up again. Damen glared back with pure hatred, his fists clenched tight. The MC looked at him with pretend confusion. Don't you like Khloe? You two were French kissing in front of everyone. Now that I've generously given her to you, why aren't you happy? I even found myself a brand new fiancé to help you out. Damen's face flushed a deep, ugly shade of red. His obsessive eyes stayed on Serena. With Serena Sterling standing right there, who would even care about a fool like Khloe Willow? He wouldn't want 100 of her. He bit his tongue to keep his composure. If you do this, do you think Mom and Dad will agree? He asked, looking at his brother with pure disdain. Of course they will. I am their biological son, after all. You should know just how much they love me. That one sentence made Damen's eyes go bloodshot. Ever since the real son returned, his parents hadn't looked at him the same way. Before, he got the best of everything. Now he only got the leftovers his brother didn't want. Even the fancy shower gel only reached him after the true heir was done picking. Whenever his parents brought home gifts, they only had the real son in mind. If Damen tried to take anything, Mother would stop him, saying it was to make up for all the years her real son had lost. He had always been the pampered young master of the Wood family. But now that their identities were swapped back, The family's blatant favoritism made him want to just drop dead from pure spite. The MC linked his arm with Serena's and pulled her towards the door. "Let's go, boss." Damon's face was terrifyingly dark. He shot a glare at Khloe, thinking to himself, why should I have to pick up the trash that Alexander just threw away? Standing by the car, our hero instinctively reached to open the back door. "Do I look like your chauffeur?" Serena asked, her voice dropping dangerously low. He quietly shut the back door, scrambled into the passenger seat, and buckled up. Internally, he was screaming, "This villainous boss is so scary. Is he going to lose his life before the honeymoon?" Serena just shook her head, amused, so cowardly yet so daring. To kiss him, relax, she has no intention of being a widow on her wedding day. He tilted his head, looking at her with total confusion. What did that even mean? Serena just laughed softly, just a reminder, tomorrow 9 a.m., City Hall. Did he need her to repeat it? He shook his head frantically. No need, no need. She handed him her phone. With tears in his eyes, he quickly typed in his contact info. He added himself on her social media, right as Damen came chasing them out. By the time Khloe came out, she saw him already driving away in Serena's car. A step too late, seeing Damon's furious face, she asked, confused, "Damen, what's wrong?" Damen immediately put on a miserable face. "Khloe, I need to go home." "What if my brother tells my parents everything?" Khloe hugged him tightly. Her face was a mask of anger. "Even if we were a little wrong this time, it's okay if he's upset. But don't worry, I won't let him bully you." Damon's eyes turned red, playing the victim card perfectly. It was just a game. I don't know why Alex is making such a big deal. Internally, Damen was completely smug. But outwardly, he played the heartbroken saint. You're his fiancée, but he's nothing. Just a country bumpkin. He doesn't deserve you at all. Khloe's eyes filled with contempt. She acted as if Alex's arranged marriage to the Willow family was some grand act of charity. She pulled Damen into a tight hug to comfort him. "Don't worry," she said. "The person I like is you. Alexander is just an absolute idiot. Our engagement is strictly business." Damen lowered his head, triumph flashing in his eyes. So what if Alexander was the true heir, he thought. Khloe still looks down on him like dirt. "Don't talk about my brother like that," Damen said, faking his kindness. But in reality, he was just smearing Alexander's name even more in front of her. "Fine, let's not talk about him, Khloe. I'll drive you home first, just in case. Alexander tries to bully you when we're not around." Serena dropped Alex off right at the entrance of the Wood family mansion. Before getting out of the car, he suddenly leaned over and pecked her cheek, then bolted out like a frightened rabbit. He didn't forget to turn back and shout, "See you tomorrow, boss." Watching him flee in panic, Serena touched her cheek where he'd kissed her and just laughed. What a complete coward. Just as she started to drive off, she spotted another car. In a flash, it stopped in front of the Wood mansion. It was Khloe and Damen. Damon's eyes lit right up, and he immediately started walking toward her to say hello. But Serena just stomped on the gas and sped off, leaving him in the dust. Standing there fuming, Damen bit his lip, overflowing with pure resentment. He honestly didn't get what he lacked compared to his brother, Alexander. Why was Alex allowed to get close to Serena while he got treated like the plague? Khloe walked up to him with a look of concern. "Do you want me to come inside?" Damen quickly shook his head, not until he had successfully conquered Serena. He absolutely couldn't afford to lose his backup option. As Alex walked inside, he was talking to his sister, Victoria, when suddenly he heard a voice from behind. It was a voice filled with pure, venomous hatred. "Alexander, you bastard. Why didn't you just die out there in the mountains? Everything here should be mine." Alex spun around, his eyes locking with Damen, who was standing right at the door. He quickly lowered his head, but it was too late. That split-second glare in his eyes screamed that he wanted Alexander dead. He was home early, afraid Alex already tattled. With his dad taunted, Victoria and her mother were just about to step forward to greet Damen. Then suddenly, their expressions changed completely. They stared at Alex in absolute disbelief. Mother Wood realized he hadn't opened his mouth. Could that have been his inner thoughts? While the three family members were still reeling from shock, they heard news from his inner voice that completely shattered their reality. It turns out Damen didn't just find his biological parents long ago, but in the future. He would collude with Khloe to destroy the Wood family. He'd even hire a truck driver to run over his sister Victoria, disguising it as a drunk driving accident. Thinking about how kind Victoria was, only to be plotted against by this snake. Alex's heart literally ached for her. At this moment, Victoria's hands were shaking uncontrollably, though she forced herself to remain calm. Mother Wood gripped her husband's hand so tight that Richard Wood couldn't help but frown. Seeing his wife's panicked face, Richard gently patted her hand, thinking they still had a chance. These things hadn't happened yet. They could change their fate. Damen, completely unaware of the sudden, drastic shift in the room's atmosphere, was still planning his next move. He'd just pretend to be pitiful. He thought these idiots would definitely soften up. He immediately dropped to his knees, preparing to launch his award-winning performance, but Alex beat him to it. "Mom, Dad, I want to cancel my engagement." Those words made Richard Wood freeze in place. He couldn't help but look up at his son, his face a mask of shock. "What, Alex, don't you love Khloe?" Alex shot a glance at Damen, whose face stiffened before his entire body went rigid. Cold sweat trickled down his back from his guilty conscience. "Yes," Alex said faintly, his voice carrying a suppressed fury. "But she was French kissing another man right in front of me today, and had the nerve to say it was just a game." He was treating him like an absolute fool. At this, Alex's voice choked, and tears he had ready on standby began to roll down his cheeks. This sight shattered his mother's heart. His dad urgently demanded, "Alex, what exactly happened? Tell us everything." "No, that's not true. It really isn't." Seeing the Wood family glaring at him with pure fury, Damen panicked and began stuttering his defense. We were just playing a game. I swear it wasn't on purpose." But Richard Wood was having none of his nonsense. Even if he couldn't hear Alex's inner voice, he wasn't an idiot. He exploded in anger. "So the person kissing Khloe was you?" Seeing the disgust on everyone's faces growing, Damen frantically shook his head, trying to save the situation. But Alex cut him off with a chilling tone. "Not on purpose, huh?" he sneered, casually waving his phone in the air. "I just so happened to get a little surveillance video of the event. You wouldn't mind if I cast it to the TV, would you?" "What video? What nonsense are you talking about?" Damen stared at Alex as if seeing a ghost. All the color drained from his face. His voice cracked into a sob as he begged Richard. "Dad, I'm begging you, believe me. I was really just joking around with Khloe." But this time, Richard Wood was utterly disappointed in him. He replied coldly, "Don't look at me. If there's a video, play it. Let's get everything out in the open today." With a highly provocative smile, Alex cast the video. The giant TV lit up, and the living room plunged into a deathly silence. In the video, Damen wasn't just participating, he was the main event. The look of triumph in his eyes practically leaked right through the screen. He was wrapped around Khloe, smiling tenderly at her right in front of Alex. The two of them embraced and kissed passionately, completely ignoring Alex's existence. To make it worse, the video also featured their whole squad of friends. All of them were loudly insulting Alex, calling him dramatic, mocking his pettiness, and advising him to be more open-minded. It was a masterclass in shamelessness. The moment the video ended, Richard Wood delivered a thunderous slap right across Damen's face. He was knocked straight to the floor, utterly speechless. For a moment, he just clutched his face, staring at Richard in total shock. "Dad, you hit me?" Richard's voice trembled. "You still have the nerve to call me Dad?" He pointed furiously at the boy on the floor. "Did you not know Khloe is Alex's fiancée? You dare seduce her right in front of him, putting on a show to humiliate my son in public. What do you take this family for?" "No, Dad, it's not." Damen tried to explain, but he didn't even know where to possibly begin. Mother would. Was even less polite. She just yelled, "You are disgusting, are there? No other women in the world. You had to go and steal your brother's fiancée." Alex watched the entire scene unfold without saying a single word. Then, a notification. It popped up on his phone. He tapped it. A new file sent by Serena, another video. This video clearly showed Damen bringing Khloe to meet his biological parents. There were also multiple time-stamped photos of them frequently. Entering and exiting hotel rooms together. "Mom, Dad, Serena just sent me." Another video, "I think you'll want to see this one too." And with that, Alex hit play. Sure enough, Damen, who was just about to argue, saw the irrefutable evidence. The proof was on the screen. His lips trembled, his face turned paper white. He couldn't form a single word. Alex delivered the final blow. "If you think any of this is a deepfake, feel free to take it to a forensics lab. If I faked it, I'll kneel down and apologize to you." One sentence blocked every single one of his escape routes. Richard Wood's chest was heaving with rage. "Damen, since you've already found your biological parents, you are no longer member of the Wood family. When we found our real son, I never once considered abandoning you. After all, we raised you for 20 years, and how do you repay us? By intentionally stealing my son's fiancée and publicly humiliating him." "Mom, Dad, please don't kick me out." Hearing Richard's order, Damen completely panicked. He knew perfectly well that the Fang family, his biological family, couldn't hold a candle to the Wood family's incredible wealth. Moreover, the Fang family only cared about profits. If he really went back to them, he knew exactly what his fate would be. He'd just be a pawn for them, to exploit and sacrifice for business deals. He would get absolutely nothing. At this moment, Richard's voice was cold and resolute. "I am not your father. Get out. Take your clothes, and don't even dream of taking a single penny of anything else." Damen's eyes brimmed with grievance. He looked at the Wood family's ruthless expressions. Their faces were cold and his tears fell. He bit his lip and sobbed, "I'm your son too. Why are you treating me like this?" His voice was full of anger. But Richard's expression didn't soften in the slightest. He just sneered at the audacity. Stealing his brother's fiancée, spending every single moment of his day scheming against him. Wasn't that enough? But Richard wasn't done yet. At first, they never planned to kick him out, but he just couldn't appreciate the life he had. The video evidence was undeniable, and he still had the nerve to ask why. At those words, Damen's face flushed crimson with rage. He shrieked, completely losing control. The video. You all wanted to throw me out for a long time, didn't you? You're just using this as an excuse, acting like I've committed some great sin." But his unhinged outburst only disgusted Richard more. He pointed a finger straight at the door. "You don't want to pack? Fine. Get out, right now. Get out of my sight." Damon's face went pale. That's when it hit him. The designer clothes, the luxury bags, and all the high-end watches he had were worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. How could he just abandon all that? His entire aggressive act vanished, replaced by a weak and pitiful facade. "Dad, you raised me for more than 20 years. How could you just throw me away?" Richard looked at him, trembling with absolute fury. "If you had even an ounce of gratitude for how you were raised, you wouldn't have bullied your brother over and over, disappointing me this much." As soon as Richard finished, the family's true son let out a cold, sarcastic laugh. "Damien, even now you have the nerve to blame him. Think about it. What did he steal from you? You stole his entire life, his parents, his family. He is the real son of the Wood family. Was it him who introduced your fiancée to his parents or paraded her around his friends? And you still dare to call yourself the innocent one?" His words hit like a bomb, unleashing a shockwave of fury in the room. Richard frowned, his voice dripping with suspicion. "Damien, 3 years ago, when you approached the Fang family for a business deal, did you already know they were your real family back then?" He paused, his eyes darkening as a horrible realization dawned on him. No, not just 3 years ago. If it was only 3 years, you couldn't have pulled all this off for them. It must have been so much earlier. Hearing this, everyone's blood ran cold. Richard let out a bitter, self-mocking laugh. My whole family has been playing the fool, sleeping peacefully at night while raising a traitor. Damien, you have really opened my eyes. Damien's legs buckled, and he fell to his knees right in front of Richard, desperately grabbing his pants while crying for mercy. I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. One more chance, Dad, but Richard violently kicked his leg away, cutting him off. From this moment on, you are no longer my son, everything that belongs to the Wood family. Don't even think about taking a single cent. Richard left zero room for negotiation. Panic completely consumed Damien. Getting kicked out was one thing, but leaving with absolutely nothing. No designer clothes, no fancy bags. Going back to the Fang family with empty hands, how could he ever accept this? He trembled and sobbed, Dad, I am begging you, just one more chance. But looking into the cold, unyielding eyes of the Wood family, he found zero hope. At a party with friends, his fiancée and his family's fake young master were getting way too close. Decisively drawing a permanent line. As Damen was being dragged away, he whipped his head back, glaring fiercely at Alexander. The venom in his eyes was practically dripping. Alexander Wood, the Wood family will be mine sooner or later. Don't you get too arrogant. His inner thoughts dripped with pure malice. But Alexander just offered him a faint, mocking smile. Young Master Fang, since you're no longer part of the Wood family, please stop using our family name to do your dirty work. With his petty scheme exposed by Alexander, Damen was so enraged he practically lost it. He spun around, screaming, "Who the hell cares about your name?" Victoria cut in coldly, "You'd better walk your talk." Damen felt a sharp pain, blood rushing to his head. He couldn't control his fury. He glared at Victoria, his eyes absolutely vicious, as if he wanted to tear her apart. Then Alexander heard it. Victoria, I've been so nice to you, and you dare treat me like this. If you refuse to be my premium pet, then you can go to hell. Damen's inner voice exploded inside Alexander's head. He was stunned. If he couldn't hear his thoughts, he'd never have guessed the guy harbored such sick fantasies about Victoria. He actually wanted his sister to be his personal lapdog, at his beck and call. Alexander looked at Victoria awkwardly, wondering how to even tell her about this horrifying secret. Victoria noticed his stare and immediately got goosebumps. If you have something to say, just say it. Why are you looking at me like that? He coughed awkwardly, not speaking, but his mind was racing wildly. Damen wants you to be his pet. Do you know that he's lusting after your body? Do you know that? As his mind went into overdrive, the expressions on Victoria and his parents' faces suddenly froze. They stared at him blankly. Did they just hear that right? Damen liked Victoria. No. He wanted Victoria to be his submissive lapdog. Her eyes blazed with pure, unadulterated rage. Damen, you absolute creep. Suppressing her anger, she walked over to Alexander and said, Little brother, if Damen ever bullies you again, you tell me immediately. He gave Victoria a very meaningful look. Sis, you should be careful yourself. I feel like the way Damen looks at you is a bit creepy. He intentionally dropped the hint. Richard immediately chimed in, coughing to clear his throat. Your brother is right. We should all be careful around that kind of person. After everything that had just happened, Richard saw right through Damen. The boy was a completely ungrateful parasite. No matter how well the Wood family had treated him. The second he didn't get his way, he'd turn his back, despise them, and plot their ruin. Khloe was still waiting at the gates of the Wood mansion. Seeing Damen run out looking completely lost and devastated, she rushed forward and hugged him tightly. Damen, what happened? Why are you crying like this? Damen just buried his face in her chest, sobbing uncontrollably, refusing to speak. Khloe kept pressing him. Damen, what exactly happened? Don't just cry, tell me. Khloe, Damen choked out. What did I do wrong? Mom and Dad want to kick me out of the house. Hearing this, Khloe's anger just exploded. Her face instantly darkened as she spun around, marching to the front door and pounding on it violently. Alexander, get your ass out here right now. Hearing her screeching, Alexander also vaguely caught the smug, calculating thoughts inside Damon's head. I'll just let Khloe's thick. He let out a cold laugh, turned on his heel, and just walked away. Straight into the kitchen he went, casually grabbing a basin of ice-cold water. He was ready to give Khloe Willow a special welcome, and his calm demeanor proved it. Victoria and Richard both just burst out laughing at the sight. Without a word, they followed him to the door where Khloe was still hammering away. The moment the door opened, she took a breath to unleash hell, but before she could say a single word, he threw the entire basin of ice water. It went directly over her head. The high and mighty woman was suddenly transformed into a soaking wet rat. Damen, who had been secretly watching, gloating by the gate, saw the whole thing, his face twisted into pure shock. He screamed, "Alex, what the hell are you doing?" But Alex didn't even bother. Looking at him, answering flatly, "Wasn't Khloe running a fever? I'm just helping her cool off." Hearing this, Khloe absolutely lost it, raising her hand to strike him. "Alexander Wood, you bastard. Get on your knees and apologize to me right now." At this, Damien's eyes lit up as if he was praying that Khloe's slap would land squarely on Alex's face. Unfortunately for him, he was getting his hopes up. Alex easily caught Khloe's wrist and delivered a brutal backhand slap right across her face. He hit her so hard her head spun. For a solid few seconds, she stared at him, stunned, as if looking at a demon. Had Alexander completely changed? Where was the pathetic guy who followed her around, begging for scraps? He just rubbed his now stinging palm and smirked. "Your skin is thick. Slapping you isn't even satisfying." Khloe trembled with rage, but then she saw Victoria, his parents, and several bodyguards stepping out. Coming from the house, she immediately lost all her nerve. She didn't dare scream again, only cursing him in her head. "Alexander, you piece of trash, how dare you humiliate me in front of Damen? Just you wait until we're married, I'll show you hell." Seeing her pathetic rage, a cold smile formed on his face. Was this woman daydreaming? He'd never seen anyone so delusional in his life. Khloe, completely oblivious to his sarcasm, continued her bizarre, preachy tone. "Alexander, I know you're just jealous of Damen, but Damen and I are strictly platonic friends. Just apologize and we can put this all behind us." Her words were so sickening, they nearly made him throw up on the spot. Unable to hold back, he delivered a solid kick right to her stomach. It wasn't a light tap. The kick sent her flying backward, curled up like a shrimp. She clutched her stomach. "How's that for an apology?" he asked coldly. She pointed a trembling finger at him, her face beat red, straining to speak. "Alexander, you coward, you actually hit me. If you don't kneel and beg for my forgiveness today, you can forget about ever marrying me." He rolled his eyes, genuinely amused. "Could you please stop starring in your own little soap opera? Go eat some peanuts and sober up. Your brain is clearly beyond saving." Those words made Khloe and Damien's faces turn incredibly ugly. Damen looked at him with deep, calculating suspicion. What was wrong with Alexander? Wasn't he just a lovesick fool before? Why was he acting so out of character? He secretly wondered what Alex had experienced, completely unaware that our main character was listening to his every thought. Khloe, meanwhile, still tried to keep up her act. She tells him to just apologize and be forgiven. His response, a sneer. He replied with two simple words: "Get lost. Things had gone too far now." There was nothing left to say. Alexander turned to Damen, his voice ice cold. "I've canceled my engagement with Khloe. Are you satisfied now? From now on, you don't have to sneak around. You can openly take Khloe to meet your real parents. It's no problem at all, but don't you forget, you are no longer part of the Wood family. Stop using our name." And just like that, Damen panicked. His eyes welled up with tears as he turned to Richard and the others. His voice cracked with grief. Mom, Dad, do you really not care about me anymore? Richard's face was stone, his voice even colder. Don't call us Mom and Dad. We don't deserve to be your parents. At this, Khloe immediately jumped in. She moved forward, pulling Damen behind her protectively. Excuse me, even if. Damen isn't your biological son, you still raised him. How can you treat him like this? Victoria shot back a mocking glare. Since you know we raised him. Tell me, how did he repay us? By bullying my little brother, stealing his fiancée, humiliating him in public. Is that what a good brother is supposed to do? Khloe choked back a stubborn reply. That was my fault. I was the one who wanted to play a game with him. It had nothing to do with Damen, Victoria scoffed. Oh, crystal clear. So if it was your problem, why are you clinging to my brother? And furthermore, since when do you get a say in the Wood family's internal affairs? Khloe was utterly speechless, frozen right where she stood. Damen, pale as a ghost, quickly pulled her arm. Khloe, let's go, don't cause any more trouble. But as he dragged her away, he was secretly seething. His inner thoughts were a vow. Just you wait, Wood family, you will beg on your knees. And I absolutely will not forgive you. Alexander just offered a faint smile at their backs. He watched them go, thinking, kneel and beg. He really thinks he's the hero, huh? But Khloe couldn't resist dropping one last, pointless threat. Alexander, don't regret this. In response, he simply raised an empty water basin. He barked one word, scram. She looked at her drenched clothes, then at the basin. That finally shut her up. She grabbed Damen and scrambled away like a beaten dog. The moment those two were gone, a wave of panic washed over Alexander. Only a single thought was racing through his mind. How could he tell his parents that he was registering his marriage tomorrow morning? But before he could come up with a plan, all three members of the Wood family turned in unison, staring a hole right through him. They stared as if expecting him to magically bloom into a flower. Their intense gaze was enough to give him goosebumps. He swallowed hard. He asked cautiously, Mom, Dad, why are you looking at me like that? His sister. Victoria ground her teeth together. You're hiding something from us, aren't you? He was about to deny it, to shake his head no, but then he hesitated. He realized they would find out sooner or later. Might as well rip the Band-Aid off. Let's go inside and I'll tell you everything, Victoria just huffed impatiently. She turned and marched straight inside. His parents exchanged a look. They silently followed behind him, once seated in the quiet living room. Alexander broke the silence, his voice barely a whisper. Ha ha. So hypothetically, if I swapped brides, would you guys be okay with that? Model the moment those words left his mouth, his mother's eyes locked on him like high beams. If she stared any harder, she'd have burned a hole right through his skull. If the girl had been right there, his mom would have grabbed a broom to chase her. Who is it? Serena Sterling. The air in the room instantly froze. Victoria and Richard just stared at him like they were seeing a ghost. Who did you say? They looked at him like he was having some crazy delusion. Serena Sterling, the current head of the Sterling family, he stubbornly clarified. His sister, Victoria, reached over and literally felt his forehead. Little brother, how much did you drink? He slapped her hand away and rolled his eyes. I'm perfectly normal. Usually, you guys are so smart. Why is your reaction speed taking a world tour today? I'm completely sober. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., she's even coming to pick him up. Richard and the rest of them looked at him like he was some kind of alien specimen. Their faces were a complex mix of indescribable emotions, as if he'd been abducted by extraterrestrials. He was about to explain more when his mother finally spoke. Alex, tell me exactly what happened. She said it gently, holding back his fuming sister and father. She seemed remarkably calm. He scratched his nose, his face a picture of pure awkwardness as he began his story. So today we lost a game, and I kinda wasn't thinking, and then I kissed her twice. He paused, gathering his courage before he continued. Then, I said I wanted to cancel the engagement with Khloe. She then made a snarky comment about who would dare marry me. So I just casually asked Serena, and she said yes. His voice got quieter and quieter as he watched their expressions turn completely theatrical. It was like he was watching a magic show on their faces. Mom, Dad, you guys don't mind if I switch my bride to the ultimate boss lady, right? He probed, feeling the anxiety rise. They had been silent for way too long. What if they were furious? His mother sat there stunned for a second, then suddenly stood up and walked upstairs. His heart dropped to his stomach. He whispered, Dad, Mom isn't really mad, is she? His dad pursed his lips, about to speak when his mother returned, holding something. Her expression was incredibly secretive. His dad looked at the object in her hand. Isn't that the family register? She shoved the register straight into his hands, patting his shoulder with deep meaning. Alex, son, marrying someone like Serena Sterling is hitting the jackpot. Mom fully supports you. He was dumbfounded. What was happening? He stiffly turned to look at his dad, his eyes screaming, Dad, control your wife. But to his shock, his dad just shrugged helplessly. Son, I really didn't want to see you get married this early. But if the bride is Serena Sterling, I support this with everything I've got. After you get the certificate tomorrow, remember to ask her when she's free for dinner. Alex's mind just completely short-circuited, holding the family register that now felt like a ticking time bomb. His mom added, you should really thank Damen. If he hadn't stolen Khloe, how could you ever marry into the Sterling family? Mom, please spare me the gratitude. He rolled his eyes and shot back. But then again, he thought if he successfully registered his marriage with the big boss tomorrow, Damen would go absolutely insane. After all, the queen was his one true love. The woman he desperately wanted to marry. Meanwhile, Victoria, who had opposed his marriage to Serena, was sold on his gratitude theory. Seriously, little brother, I think you and President Sterling are actually a great match. Don't be late tomorrow and make sure you dress sharp. He gave a dry, awkward laugh, retreating to his room and locking the door. His brain started working in overdrive. Damon's main character plot armor was seriously no joke. With Khloe wrapped around his finger. Who knew how many other elite women would throw themselves at him? Our hero knew he needed to think carefully about how to strip away all his plot armor. Meanwhile, Serena was back at Villa Number 1, entering the living room. She saw several of her close friends sitting on the sofa. She casually tossed her coat on a chair and leaned back lazily. What are you all doing here? We heard you're going to City Hall with that kid tomorrow. Someone couldn't help but ask, do you actually like him? Serena leaned back lazily and replied, not exactly like, but at least I don't hate him. He's interesting, quite unique. Her friends exchanged glances, finally conceding. Well, not bad, but hasn't the Sterling family always wanted you to enter into a political marriage? If you do this, they probably won't approve. Serena just smirked. I hold my own household register. Why should I care what they think? And before long, everyone left, leaving Serena alone. She sat on the sofa, recalling the night's events. Thinking of the things he'd said. She couldn't help but lower her head, the corners of her mouth twitching into an uncontainable smile. That impulsive kid is truly amusing, who knows? Maybe in the future we really will have a pair of adorable twins. Realizing what she was thinking, she startled. Since when was her mind led astray by him? She shook her head helplessly, grabbed her coat, and went upstairs to shower. Later on, wrapped in a towel, she stepped out of the bathroom, walking over to the massive floor-to-ceiling window. Watching the night view in the glass. A faint smile touched her lips. In her room, she sat down on her bed, handled some work on her tablet for a bit, and finally went to sleep. The next morning at 7 a.m., his mom dragged him out of bed. He yawned, crawling up, washed his face, and checked his reflection. Yep, the outfit was looking immaculate. He glanced at the time, already past 8 a.m. He quickly grabbed his bag, stuffed the family register inside, and bolted downstairs. The moment he reached the ground floor, he saw Serena sitting there. In the living room, talking animatedly with his dad, he tilted his head, completely confused. What was going on? Why was she here so early? Recognizing his steps, Serena looked up at him. She stared for a good while. Honestly, her gaze made him a bit self-conscious. Was his outfit weird? Why was she staring? He couldn't help himself. He rolled his eyes and glared right back at her. Serena just laughed, got up, and walked over to him, inspecting his suit carefully. Little kid. He ignored her, pouting his lips in disdain, but still grumbled, "I'm 23, okay." "Who are you calling a little kid?" She kept calling him that, which really ticked him off so much he almost wanted to fight. But before he could, his model, a booming laugh, interrupts from behind. "Alex, stop messing around and come eat. Serena's been waiting for you." He adds, "Fine, consider yourself lucky." Alex shot Serena a sidelong glance, scowling intentionally to try and intimidate her. But of course, she just looked at him like a cute pet. The corners of her mouth clearly held a teasing smirk. At the dining table, he casually asked her, "Have you eaten breakfast? If so, take your time." With that, he didn't bother with ceremony, sitting down and focusing on demolishing his bowl of congee and steamed buns. She quietly watched him, looking perfectly relaxed and at ease. Occasionally, he felt her gaze sweep across his face. When his cheeks puffed out from chewing, he swore he saw her fingers twitch. Did she want to pinch his cheeks? After eating his fill, Alex put down his chopsticks and looked up at her. "Let's go," she just nodded, stood, and turned to say goodbye to his dad. "Uncle will be heading out now." Once in the car, he looked at her, his voice full of curiosity. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming?" She replied nonchalantly, "I texted you. You're the one who didn't reply." He quickly pulled out his phone to check. Sure enough, there was an unread message from her sitting right there. He scratched his head, trying to remember. Oh, right. He figured he must have been in the shower. Alex gave her an innocent, apologetic smile. The very next second, she slowly let out two words, "So stupid." "You've got a toxic tongue, you know that. Careful, or you won't be able to find a husband." He retorted, rolling his eyes. She glanced at him and suddenly smiled. She reached over, pulled his seat belt across his chest, and carefully buckled him in. Her voice was lazy, but somehow sounded incredibly serious. "I only need one husband. Any more would just be a nuisance." That sentence caught him completely off guard. He couldn't think of a single comeback. The anger rising deep inside his chest was forcefully suppressed, leaving him to pout in frustrated silence while rolling his eyes at the window. On the way, he babbled on about random things. Serena didn't say much. But whenever he threw a topic her way, her responses were sharp, on point, polite, yet always holding her commanding aura. She truly lived up to her title of boss lady. Compared to the flashy and superficial Khloe Willow, Serena was on a completely different, infinitely higher level. She tilted her head to glance at him. Her expression calm as a deep, unreadable lake, showing not a single trace of emotion. When they got close to City Hall, he was still in high spirits. But the moment they walked through the doors and he saw Damen standing there, his mood instantly plummeted. This guy is really like a lingering ghost. Alex cursed internally, furrowing his brows while he glared at him. Serena followed his gaze and saw Damen standing there looking pitiful. Like a fragile white lotus flower, the absolute pinnacle of delicate vulnerability. After parking the car, Serena said flatly, "Let's go." She stepped out and completely naturally reached for his hand, leading him into the lobby. In that exact moment, a warm feeling bloomed in his chest. He ducked his head, secretly smiling like a total softie. The moment President Sterling walked into the lobby, Damen called out to stop her. Alex couldn't help but roll his eyes. This guy really knows how to make a scene. Predictably, he put on his pitiful act and blocked their path. "President Sterling, I have something to say." Serena just kept her hands in her pockets, sweeping a freezing glance over Damen. Her eyes practically screamed three massive words. "Get lost." Her low, icy voice dropped a sentence that made Alexander burst out laughing. He immediately clung to Serena's arm, intentionally leaning into her, and looked at Damen with a taunting voice. Aren't you here to register your marriage with Khloe? Where is she? Not with you. Damien's face instantly went a sickly shade of green. A fire of pure fury ignited in his chest as his lips pressed into a thin, tight line. His hateful gaze stabbed right into Alexander's face. The anger on his face was perfectly clear. Alexander doesn't deserve Serena. She belongs to me. His eyes were screaming it, but those petty, pathetic thoughts just seemed utterly laughable to Alexander. He squeezed Serena's hand tighter, whining on purpose. I am so sleepy. From now on, you can't wake me up this early. Serena glanced down, a smile playing on her lips as she ruffled his hair. Her voice held a clear note of indulgence. All right, after we get the certificate, we will go home so you can sleep. Hey, don't mess up my hair. You're ruining my style. Seeing his flustered, agitated state, she couldn't help but chuckle. You look like an angry poodle. As she spoke, she reached out to fix his hair, her voice still casual. Okay, enough fooling around. Let's go in before it gets too crowded. From start to finish, she never once gave Damien a single glance. Alexander proudly turned, shooting Damien a look full of mockery before waving. You just take your time waiting for Khloe. We're going in. That tone made his face flash between shades of green and white. He looked like he wanted to say something, but Serena had already pulled Alexander straight towards another entrance. The entire time, she treated Damien like he was Heir. When they walked out holding their bright red marriage booklets, Damien's face was so dark it looked like it could drip ink. For a moment, it honestly looked like he would lunge forward and snatch Alexander's marriage certificate, ripping it to absolute shreds. Do you need to go back for anything? Serena asked, breaking the tension. Alexander stared at her, completely bewildered. Are you kidding? I'm moving in with you, and you can't even buy me new clothes. You want me to pack my old stuff. Her image as a generous sugar mommy collapsed in an instant. She paused, pinching the bridge of her nose, her voice thick with pure exasperation. I meant things like your computer. Do you need that? Hearing this, he finally realized his mistake. But seeing Damien still there from the corner of his eye, he deliberately raised his voice. Never mind, I do not need any of that old stuff, as long as you're buying me new things. Serena immediately caught on to his little scheme, saying smoothly, then let's head to the mall right now. You can pick whatever you want. Alexander's eyes lit up as he dragged Serena away, leaving Damien behind. Alexander Wood, you bastard, I will not let this go. Damien's furious voice echoed behind them. As Alexander walked past, he threw him a casual side-eye and a provocative smirk. Not let me get away with this, he thought. Oh yeah, just wait. Serena caught Damon's hateful glare, and she looked down at Alex, a faint, condescending smile playing on her lips. He's just a clown jumping for attention. Why are you even looking at him? Alex could only blink, absolutely screaming with admiration inside. Classic ultimate villainous. One sentence, a critical hit, but honestly, this whole scene was absolutely awe-inspiring. Serena's icy calm proved that no matter how strong the main character's plot armor was, it was completely useless against a true boss. She lowered her eyes to look at him, then pretended like nothing happened, tightly holding his hand as they walked out of City Hall, leaving a trembling Damien in their wake. On the way, Alex casually asked, "Are you coming to my house for dinner tonight?" Serena didn't even look up, casually replying, "Yes. And while we're there, we can tell your parents you're moving in with me." Alex froze, mind blown. Wow, this boss lady was truly experienced. She wasn't acting like a newlywed at all. She was moving at the pace of an old married couple, but as he thought about it, Alex felt a surge of excitement. Living with her didn't sound bad at all. Plus, Damen would absolutely lose his mind if he sent spies and found out. Oh, wouldn't he just explode with pure jealousy? Just imagining the scene made Alex want to cackle out loud. At the mall, he picked out a mountain of accessories and casual clothes. When he reached for his card to pay, Serena smoothly pulled out a sleek black card and handed it to him. She coolly dropped one word, "Swipe." He looked at the card, double-checking to make sure it was real, and finally took it with a provocative raise of his eyebrows. Hey, don't blame him. He's maxing this baby out. She just chuckled softly, nodding, ambitious. And somehow, her tone made it sound like a real compliment. She really lived up to the title of a generous boss lady. After that, they hit up a few furniture stores, buying everything from toothbrushes to slippers, and finally winding up at a designer boutique, watching the total on the receipts just climb higher and higher. He suddenly felt a little embarrassed. So he picked out a few sets of comfortable loungewear for her as a gift and set them aside. By the end of the day, their loot was piled high. But what surprised him the most was that Serena had followed him around all day without a single complaint. Her patience was absolutely staggering. Out of sheer embarrassment, he proactively picked out a few more sets of home clothes and comfy outfits for her as a thank you. When they returned to the Wood family mansion, his mom had already prepared a lavish feast. After dinner, Serena naturally brought up the subject with his parents. "Mom, Dad, I want Alex to move in with me tonight." And even though his mom had mentally prepared for this, hearing the words still made her pause, a flicker of disappointment in her eyes. Alex quickly comforted her. "Mom, we can come back whenever we want. We'll come back for dinner when we're free. I can even stay over for a few days, right?" He secretly nudged Serena, signaling for her to back him up, and sure enough, his reliable boss lady immediately nodded. Seeing this, his mom's expression softened considerably. She gave them a few instructions, reminding them to visit often. That night, Alex only packed a few changes of clothes. Quickly throwing his things together, and Serena's car pulled up to Villa Number 1, a massive, sprawling mansion. It looked magnificent, but felt impossibly cold and sterile on the inside. He followed her into her private room, his eyes scanning every single detail. And he just couldn't help but complain that it looked like a model home. Absolutely zero warmth, especially the massive, empty balcony. What a waste of space. But Serena didn't seem to mind, simply leaning against the door frame. She quietly watched him snoop around, poking at this and prodding at that. She gave a slight shake of her head. As he walked deeper in, she made her move. Grabbing his wrist, she pulled him close, raising a single, questioning eyebrow. "Hate it that much?" he nodded, being brutally honest. "Yeah, I really hate it." So she just shoved a black card into his hand. "Then go decorate it, really. I can change it however I want." His eyes immediately lit up. They sparkled like starlight as he stared at her, full of eager anticipation. "As long as you don't paint it all pitch black, I have no objections." Her words made him cover his mouth, trying to hold back a burst of laughter. Paint it black, the very thought of that was enough to give him goosebumps. Serena stood watching, hands in her pockets, her lips curving into a deep smile. That smile, he startled, his internal alarms suddenly blaring like crazy. He prepared for a sneaky escape, but before he could even take a step, a strong hand grabbed his waist, yanking him backward. "What are you doing?" He stammered, looking up into her deep, utterly mesmerizing eyes. "I heard," she said, leaning down, her low voice laced with pure teasing. He panicked, frantically shaking his head. "No, I don't. Who even said that?" But before he could react, in the very next second, she suddenly pushed him right back onto the bed. The move was so fast his eyes nearly popped out. What was happening? Lying on the bed, his brain felt like total mush. He tried to sit up, but she just leaned over slowly, pinning him down so he couldn't move. Not an inch, his face flushed bright red, her flawless face mere inches away. Inches from his, he stammered out, Don't you do anything crazy." She let out a low chuckle, her voice both playful and dangerous. "Scared." That laugh, combined with her presence, sent a shiver straight down his spine. He tried pushing her away, but she just pressed harder, his brain short-circuited. And then suddenly, he threw his arms around her neck and just kissed her. Hard, the kiss didn't just stun her, it completely shocked him too. Who knew? Nobody expected that being teased would trigger such an aggressive counterattack from him. The only problem was, this bold kiss barely lasted 2 seconds before he chickened out. He tried to pull back, but she had already reacted, her hand clamped down. Right on the back of his neck, her movements were domineering and absolutely forceful. It stole his breath away. When she finally let go, he was left panting hard. He dazedly reached up to her face and blurted, "Who started the rumor that my wife doesn't like men? I need to sue for defamation." The words just fell out. He snapped back to reality, waving his hands. "I didn't say anything, nothing at all." But Serena just let out a deep, throaty laugh. It was a complex, sexy sound. A laugh that gave him goosebumps from head to toe. Then she straightened her cuffs. Her slightly ruffled cuffs, and casually dropped a bomb before walking right out. She'd deal with him tonight, leaving him lying dazed on the bed, panting for air. He absent-mindedly touches his lips where she had just kissed him, unable to help himself. A thought crosses his mind, and the corners of his mouth curl up uncontrollably. If Damen knew about this, he'd probably be too furious to sleep for days. He rolls over, grabs his phone, and starts scrolling, noticing Damen's name. His contact info was still there, and a wicked little idea suddenly strikes him. He tosses the phone aside, crawls up, and starts unpacking the mountain of stuff he bought. Just then, Serena walks in carrying a glass of milk for him, and she says, "Flatly drink your milk." He doesn't even look up, just gives a casual hum. It wasn't until he finished unpacking that he finally noticed the drink. He picks up the milk and drinks it down, just as he takes the last gulp. The bathroom door creaks open. Serena steps out, wrapped in nothing but a bath towel. Droplets of water cling to her damp hair, and the sight just completely short-circuits his brain. He stares blankly for what feels like an eternity before finally snapping out of it. She notices him staring, and a wicked smile curves her lips as she deliberately walks right up to him, leans down, and asks, "Am I pretty?" without thinking. He just nods instinctively. Pretty, his dazed, obedient expression makes her laugh out loud. She reaches out and taps his head. "You little pervert." He rubs his head indignantly, muttering, "You're my wife now. What's wrong with looking?" Serena's eyes narrow, as if she's hearing a much deeper meaning in his words. She takes a step closer, raising an eyebrow. "If you can look at me, does that mean I get to return the favor?" As she takes another step toward him, he instinctively pushes her away and practically yells, "I'm going to take a shower." Looking exactly like a cat whose tail just got stepped on, he bolts away. He runs into the bathroom and slams the door, only daring to breathe once he's inside. A sigh of relief, but when he turns around, he realizes he forgot his pajamas. The tiny towels in the bathroom are not going to cover a single thing. He's so doomed. Finally, with no other choice, he wraps a towel around his waist. And stubbornly, he marches right back out, the moment he steps out of the bathroom. He sees Serena just staring at him. Her gaze sweeps over his body, intense. He was about to make an excuse, but she doesn't even give him the chance. Not even to open his mouth, she says bluntly, "Alexander, I don't accept marriages of convenience." That one line brutally shatters all his illusions. Her next words and actions leave him with absolutely zero room to argue back. In his heart, only one thought remains: if anyone ever dares say his wife is gay, he will personally slap them 800 times. Serena, who was clearly listening to his inner thoughts, suddenly lets out a low, husky laugh. It was a deep, seductive sound, carrying a strange, teasing quality. He just grumbles, "You're too loud," and with that, he rolls over and collapses right onto the bed, instantly pretending to be asleep, giving her no chance to say anything else. She watches him start to fake snore and just shakes her head helplessly. She leans down, gently strokes his cheek, and then lies down right beside him, pulling him softly into her arms, breathing in the scent of the very same shower gel lingering on his skin. He slowly drifts off into a genuine sleep. The next morning, Serena heads downstairs, where the butler is already waiting. Waiting in the living room, she gave a casual order. He's still sleeping. "Don't disturb him until he wakes up." Also, tell the kitchen to prepare a traditional Chinese breakfast. The butler immediately nodded. Yes, miss. She then left the villa, got into her car, and casually sent him a text. But upon arriving at her company, Serena's entire demeanor shifted. She was back to being the strict, ice-cold CEO who commanded absolute authority. The word intimidating seemed permanently etched onto her very being. The employees, expecting business as usual, were in for a serious shock. They noticed President Sterling had picked up some new accessories. As she swept past, the whispers began immediately. Hey, did you see her neck? Oh my God. Is that a hickey? Their CEO had actually been claimed. Serena entered her office and got the daily schedule from her assistant, but something was clearly off. Halfway through a sentence, the assistant's eyes kept darting over to Serena's neck. It wasn't just a glance. The assistant was staring like she'd discovered a rare historical artifact. Serena finally lost her patience. She looked up, her gaze pure disdain. Have you looked enough? If you have something to report, then speak. The assistant flinched, quickly lowering her head and getting back to work, not daring to ask a single question. During the executive meeting, the high-level managers also couldn't resist sneaking peeks at her. Serena had zero tolerance for this. She tapped the table, a freezing warning. I called you all here for a meeting, not to admire me. That one sentence plunged the entire room into a dead silence. Her gaze swept across everyone. The acquisition plan has to be accelerated. The budget calculations must be precise. There will be absolutely no delays on any project. With that, she stood and left, already grabbing her phone to handle other business. After the meeting, her phone rang. It was him. As soon as she answered, he practically yelled, Serena Sterling, do you have no shame? She replied calmly, you were the one who started it. He was livid. He wanted to smash his phone. Look at me. Who would want to see me looking like this? She just let out a soft laugh. Are you missing a chunk of meat, Alexander? Serena, I am your husband. Her voice was thick with amusement as she calmly replied, why don't you take a look at my battle scars from today first? After saying that, she snapped a picture of the clearest mark on her neck and sent it to him. Seeing the photo, he almost threw his phone across the room, a massive blue and purple splotch. But then again, he couldn't help but tease her. Did you do this on purpose, so I'd be too embarrassed to see anyone today? Without missing a beat, she replied, you only have to see the butler today. It's not like you need to meet a crowd. Hearing that, he finally calmed down, sat on the bed, and found the absolute perfect angle for a selfie. He then posted it to his social media feed, but restricted the privacy so that only Damen could see it. Damen had just woken up. With dark circles from a sleepless night, he picked up his phone to scroll. Suddenly, he saw Alexander's new update. A notification. Damen swiped it open, and what he saw sent him into a pure rage. He slammed his phone down, grinding his teeth. Alexander would. He seethed, vowing to make him pay. The thought of his precious, untouchable white moonlight with a man like Alexander was absolute agony. His hands balled into tight fists. He couldn't just sit there. He had to show Serena what kind of man Alexander really was. Driven by that thought, Damen grabbed his things and headed straight for the Sterling Group headquarters to find Serena. On the way, he even bought a new phone and saved that one damning photo to it. At the reception desk of Sterling Group, he strode in with his head held high. He demanded, I want to see President Sterling. Excuse me, sir, do you have an appointment? Damen frowned, no, I'm sorry. Without an appointment, you cannot go up. The receptionist maintained a perfectly polite smile. Damen was about to argue when Serena herself led a group out of the elevator. Seeing her, Damen's eyes lit up. He immediately sprinted over and blocked her. He blocked her path. President Sterling, hello, I am Alexander's older brother. Serena glanced at him, her voice ice cold. My husband only has one older sister. He doesn't have a brother, and right then, Serena remembered this guy. He was the so-called main character from her inner thoughts, the repulsive man who saw her as his prize. Damen looked slightly embarrassed, but he was desperate to expose Alexander's true face. He gritted his teeth and pulled out the photo on his new phone. President Sterling, look. Alexander actually dared to use a trick like this to tarnish your reputation. Serena merely glanced at the photo on the screen. Damen frowned, seeing her calm reaction. He felt a secret triumph, assuming Serena wasn't the kind of woman who would fall for such petty tricks. Serena hadn't seen the photo Alexander posted. There was only one explanation. He must have deliberately posted it just so Damen would see it. He was intentionally trying to provoke him. Thinking about her husband's impulsive, chaotic behavior, Serena spaced out. She was actually amused. Damen was waiting for Serena to furiously curse him out, but this wasn't playing out at all like he'd imagined. The assistant, noticing Serena had zero interest in this man, quickly intervened. President, if we don't leave now, we'll be late for the meeting. Let's go. As they reached the door, Serena seemed to remember something. She turned to the receptionist and said, "From now on, if this person shows up, block him at the door." Understood, the two receptionists nodded immediately. Damen tried to speak again, but the assistant moved to block his path. She shot him a warning glare. "Sir, please refrain from harassing our CEO." Left with no other option, Damen could only stand there and watch helplessly as Serena's car drove away. The two receptionists started gossiping. "I actually thought he really knew the boss. Turns out she couldn't care less about him. Our boss already has a husband. Why would she get involved with a guy like this?" Damen, overhearing their gossip, was furious. How could someone as high and mighty as Serena Sterling actually announce at her own company that she had a husband? Who's talking nonsense? Everyone in the company knows. Today, the boss even came to work with him. Hickeys and bite marks on her neck. The boss and her husband are clearly very much in love. Don't you dare try to ruin their relationship. That was the receptionist's warning. Hearing this, Damen thought his ears were failing him. He immediately asked in disbelief. "What did you say, Serena? Someone so arrogant and untouchable like her, how could she? How could she go to work with hickeys and bite marks?" The receptionist was done entertaining him. So Damen just pulled out his phone, staring at the photo in his hand. Look for yourself. He saw Serena in the picture, and the hickey on her neck was obvious. It was blindingly clear. Damen didn't even know how he stumbled out of the entire building. When he first saw the picture Alexander had posted, he was in complete denial. He genuinely believed it was a fake, created just to make him angry, but now he knew. After coming to the Sterling Group, he realized he was the only clown in this entire circus. Seeing Damen leave in such a pathetic state, the two receptionists took action. They texted Serena's assistant, relaying the whole embarrassing incident. The assistant was about to report it, but then she saw Serena pull out her own phone. She was making a call. "Alexander, as your wife, shouldn't I see private photos like that first? It's one thing to show them to outsiders, but using me as your personal meat shield. That's not very nice." Alexander, who was eating breakfast, immediately perked up. "Wait, did Damen actually go to your company to find you?" he asked. "How else would I know?" Alexander burst out laughing. "What's wrong with using my own wife?" For a little advantage, Serena asked him thoughtfully, "You don't regret this, do you?" "Regret what? Why would I regret it?" Alexander found her question incredibly strange. After all, what's done is done. There was nothing to regret. Damen was probably seething. "Remember what you said," he added. "I have a business meeting to attend," and she hung up. Previously, Alexander hadn't really given it much thought at all. After hanging up, he opened his contacts, and sure enough, Damen had sent a barrage of texts. A flood of nasty messages. The most frequent one was, "How can you be so shameless?" Alexander sneered and leisurely sent Damen a voice message. "You went to my wife's company. Did you go there just to see for yourself how deeply in love we are?" That one audio clip made Damen's eyes go bloodshot with rage. "Alexander, what are you? So smug about, sooner or later, she's going to dump you and you'll be left with nothing. We are legally married, even if she really dumps me and we get divorced. He replied calmly, I still get half of her massive fortune. Alexander understood. He knew exactly what Damen cared about most. Every word he spoke twisted the knife. Right where it hurt the most, Damen was so enraged, he called him immediately. The second the call connected, he unleashed a torrent of curses. Alexander would. How can you be so utterly shameless? She doesn't even like you, facing the furious man. Alexander simply said brightly, she is my wife. Alex, do you honestly think Serena likes you? She's just playing with you, Damen shot back. At night, she shares a bed with me. I even hold her while we sleep, Alexander said slowly. That sentence pushed Damen right over. Right over the edge, every vile insult in the dictionary spewed from his mouth. Alexander just set his phone aside, letting Damen scream helplessly into the void. When the other side finally went silent, he picked it up and said, Damen, you like my wife. Don't you? Too bad she has zero interest in you whatsoever, and not to mention. She's legally bound to me now, so tell me, if Khloe finds out you're constantly thinking about another woman, how exactly is she going to react? He was enjoying this. Alex made sure to drive a wedge between him and Khloe. Alex, why do you always have to fight me over everything? Why couldn't you just die out there? Damen spat with pure venom, but Alex fired back without missing a beat. If a piece of trash like you, who stole my life like a cuckoo in another bird's nest, is still alive, then why should I die? With that, he hung up and blocked his number instantly. After being cut off, Damen tried calling back, but no one picked up. Then the call failed to connect. He knew Alex had definitely blocked him. He raised his hand, ready to smash the phone. But right before he remembered this was the brand new phone he had just bought. Choking down his anger, Damen used a different phone to make a call. Help me investigate Alexander Wood. Find out who he's been meeting and exactly when he met Serena Sterling. After getting a confirmation, Damen hung up, feeling a bit satisfied. Before another thought could form, his phone rang again. One look at the caller ID and Damen felt a huge wave of disappointment. Why isn't it Serena? If he had been the one to register their marriage, how amazing would that be? But even while fantasizing about Serena, Damen couldn't dare to ignore Khloe. Now that the Wood family had kicked him out, he absolutely needed Khloe to keep his status among the elite. Before he completely won over Serena, he couldn't get rid of his backup plan. Not yet. Damen, where are you? I'm coming to get you to meet someone. Khloe's voice on the phone sounded strangely excited. Damen was annoyed, but he still replied gently, giving Khloe his address. About 30 minutes later, Khloe appeared right in front of him. Damen, didn't you want to be in movies? I called a director, and there's a part for you in his new film. Hearing this, Damen immediately took Khloe's arm. Khloe, are you serious? After his show of joy, he acted a little hesitant. Khloe, is it really all right for you to pull strings with a director for my sake? The Wood family came to your house today to break the engagement. Are you sure you shouldn't be home? Khloe just scoffed. I've wanted to cancel that engagement for a long time. Who would ever like a country nobody like Alexander? On the inside, Damen was ecstatic. But on the outside, he played the poor victim. Khloe, I'm so sorry. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be dealing with this canceled engagement and getting yelled at. It's fine, now that it's over, we can be together forever. Khloe hugged Damen, speaking with genuine affection. The words made Damen feel sick, but he forced a deeply moved expression. Khloe, you are so good to me. Damen then went with Khloe to meet the director. His looks and his acting skills got a satisfied nod from the man. All right, the third male lead role for this movie is yours, the third male lead. Damen wasn't thrilled, but he didn't let it show. Instead, he smiled and thanked him. The director just gave a small smile and said nothing more. If it weren't for the Willow family's influence, this third-string role would have never fallen into his lap. Damen took the script and immediately started to study it. He was dead set on becoming famous. As long as he became a huge star, he'd have his own power base, and dealing with Alex would be a piece of cake. When Alex heard Damen was about to join a film crew, he was honestly a little surprised. She was always generous when it came to him. That night, Serena came home and found him working on his laptop. She sat down beside him, glancing at the screen. "What are you doing? Writing a script? Are you into this stuff?" He scooched closer to her. "Take a look." Serena skimmed through the script and found it wasn't half bad. "Do you want me to invest? What's in it for me?" He tilted his head, looking at Serena, and planted a loud kiss right on her cheek. "Is this benefit acceptable?" Serena tilted her head to look at him, feeling like she was being bought way too cheaply. The boss lady is not so easily fooled. If you don't agree, that won't work. Otherwise, he'd have to use his ultimate honey trap tactics. Hearing his thoughts, Serena actually started to look forward to it. She looked at him, curious to see what he'd do to convince her to invest. He rolled his eyes, pushed the laptop away, and suddenly threw his arms around her neck, looking deep into her eyes. He gently shook her arm, intentionally using a whiny, spoiled tone. "Wifey, please, I'm begging you." His pathetic, adorable act made Serena's heart soften a little bit. But suddenly, she said, "I believe I still have an unsettled score with you." Hearing this, he immediately remembered the stunt he pulled just to annoy her. She leaned down and dropped a light kiss on his cheek. "Call me wifey again, let me hear it." He stared at her, completely shocked. This woman was a cold, ruthless CEO, not some harmless little shrimp. He quickly changed the subject. "I'm hungry today." He didn't dare poke the bear any longer. Besides, he was genuinely starving. Serena held back a laugh and pulled him toward their bedroom. Looking at the room that hadn't changed at all, she raised an eyebrow. "Didn't you say you were going to redecorate?" He just rolled his eyes at her. With the state of his neck, he wasn't about to step outside just to get laughed at. Serena's eyes drifted down to his neck, and she couldn't suppress a smile. She leaned in, giving his neck another light bite. He stared at her with wide eyes. Serena didn't argue. She just asked softly, "Using me to provoke that repulsive man. How should we settle that debt? Who told him to like you? If I don't use you to provoke him, who else am I going to use?" He answered righteously. Serena nodded, surprisingly not arguing. "Then it's not unreasonable for me to collect a little interest, is it?" He was about to say something, but Serena gave him no chance. He pinched her, pretending to be wronged. "You're so difficult with your own husband, and you still demand compensation. So stingy for a CEO." Serena simply grabbed his hand and kissed his knuckles lightly. "Your wife is a businesswoman, so I provide the funds, and your wife only accepts payment via the honey trap. The day after tomorrow, I'm going on a business trip. Do you want to come with me?" Serena asked, hoping he'd join her. "I'm not going," he said, then suddenly remembered something. She still hadn't actually said whether she was investing or not. "You are my husband. What's mine is yours. Use the money however you like." After dinner, Serena led him out to the garden. Sitting in the gazebo, he kept writing his script while Serena read over his shoulder. This script was about a friend of his from middle school. She had been severely bullied, which led to depression, and eventually jumped off a building to end her life. But the perpetrators, since they were minors, never received no severe punishment. Isn't that ridiculously funny? Thinking of that bright, flower-like girl, a wave of sadness hit him. She just jumped while those people just stood there and watched. Serena comforted him, saying the law is always improving and those people will face justice. The next day, Serena and her assistant left for their business trip. Watching them go, he was absolutely thrilled. Finally, she was gone. He could do whatever he wanted until she got back. By the third day she was away, the hickey on his neck had faded significantly in the mirror. He immediately kicked off his room makeover plan, driving straight to the mall. He picked out a new set of bedding and bought 2 giant bean bag chairs, a small coffee table, and a few potted plants. Returning home, he had the staff wash the new bedding. Suddenly, a man stood up and blocked his path. Alexander Wood, you're casually redecorating President Sterling's room. Did she even give you permission? Alexander tilted his head, looking at him. A smirk played on his lips as he rested his chin on his hand, speaking slowly. It's my wife's room. I can do whatever I want with it. She doesn't have a problem with it, so why are you jumping out to bark? The word wife made the man's face stiffen. Alexander called the butler over, asking, "Who is this guy?" The butler looked at the stubborn man standing there and rubbed his temples. It's the son of Chef Thomas. Since when does a chef's son get to dictate what the master of the house does? The butler glared at him in displeasure. Alexander leaned back on the sofa, casually asking the butler, "Before my wife left, didn't she say that while she's away, I'm the master of her room? Whatever I want to do goes, right?" The butler nodded immediately. That is correct. Madame explicitly ordered that while she is away, you have full authority. She even specifically instructed us to assist you in redecorating the room. Alexander looked at the man with interest. So I'm curious, my wife said I'm in charge. Does this gentleman here refuse to recognize my status, or does he refuse to acknowledge my existence altogether? The butler's expression changed instantly. Felix Zhang is only staying here temporarily. Strictly speaking, he is not an employee of the Sterling family. What right does he have to speak to you like this? Call Chef Thomas here. Chef Thomas rushed out from the kitchen. After hearing what happened, he finally realized his arrogant, ungrateful son had gone and offended Alexander. Felix, you said you had no place to stay for the summer, so I begged Madame to let you stay here temporarily. What in the world are you trying to do? Chef Thomas was absolutely furious. Turns out, he and Felix's mother had divorced early on. Back then, Felix chose to live with his wealthy stepfather and refused to go with his father. Thomas had only taken his youngest son. He never expected that this brief reunion would cause such a massive disaster. Sir, I will have him leave immediately. Alexander looked at the profound disappointment in Chef Thomas's eyes and said softly, Chef, don't stress. I know you're a good person, but there are some people you really need to be careful around. Don't let them drag you down, thank you, sir. After he went upstairs, Chef Thomas looked at Felix with sheer disappointment. Pack your things and leave. Don't stay here anymore. I am not your father. Didn't you love your stepfather so much? Go beg him for money. Don't come looking for me ever again. Model and again, Chef Thomas felt his heart sink. He thought, after all, blood is thicker than water, so he'd tried to help. But who knew the kid would dare disrespect him and even have delusional ideas about the madam? Truly a frog in a well, completely clueless about how big the world is. Seeing his own father side against him in public, Felix just exploded with rage. Fine, I'm leaving. You think I want to be in this dump? He stomped back to his room to pack, assuming his dad was just putting on a show. He figured he'd never actually get kicked out, so he took his time. But Chef Thomas never came to stop him. When Felix finally peeked outside to check, Chef Thomas walked in, his face in a motionless mask, finished packing. Then get out, Felix just sneered, carelessly stuffing things into his suitcase and spitting out his words. Don't you come crawling back to me. Chef Thomas just stared blankly. He made $30,000 working for the Sterling family, a month with full benefits. His younger son was brilliant, always winning scholarships, and was incredibly well-behaved, always offering to help the villa staff whenever he visited, so everyone loved him. In contrast, Felix was lazy and rotten. Good, Thomas thought, don't you ever call me again. You were the one who said you hated me and never wanted to see me again. An awkward silence fell, leaving them both speechless. Felix shot a hateful glare at Chef Thomas, snatched his suitcase, and stormed right out. The butler looked at Chef Thomas. That son of yours is trouble. Don't ever let him set foot in here again. I'm done with him, Chef Thomas stated firmly. It's good that you understand. The madam might ignore small things, but when it concerns the sir, no one dares take any chances. You handled this the right way, the butler. hinted, implying Thomas had avoided angering his boss and getting into trouble. The things she had bought slowly started arriving. The freshly washed bedding was brought back too. She had the staff set everything up on the balcony and directed them to change the sheets. She couldn't help but smile. Not only that, the old rug was replaced. A sleek new lamp and simple ornaments were placed on the nightstand. The once cold, sterile room had become infinitely warmer under her touch. Finally, looking at the pitch-black curtains, she slapped her forehead. She'd almost forgotten the most important part. She quickly made a call to get them swapped out. Once the curtains were changed, the oppressive black, white and gray aesthetic instantly felt brand new. She snapped a few pictures and sent them right to Serena. "How's it look? Good, right?" Over in Europe, Serena was working when her phone buzzed. Opening it, she saw a completely transformed bedroom and even a selfie of her friend. She immediately regretted not bringing her along, replying with a quick text before heading out. The CEO of their partner company still hadn't given a straight answer, clearly just stalling for time. They're probably going to drag this on. We'll give them until tomorrow, absolute latest. If they keep playing games, cancel the partnership. Her assistant, though surprised, didn't ask any questions and went straight to deal with the other party. After hanging up, Serena went to get some rest. The next morning, she saw the message her friend had sent. Pictures of dinner, fresh flowers from the garden, and the fully decorated balcony. "It looks truly beautiful," she replied, and then headed out. "President, they still haven't given us an answer. Book us a flight back for tomorrow morning." She had zero intention of wasting more time. Handle today's business, call if anything comes up. And with that, she grabbed her car keys and left. After walking around a bit, she returned holding a ton of shopping bags. Just then, her assistant received a call from the partner company and ran to find Serena, only to stop dead in her tracks. She found her boss surrounded by high-end shopping bags, decor, clothes, and shoes. The assistant was floored. Who'd have thought their icy, untouchable CEO would ever go out shopping for these kinds of things? "Boss, did you buy all this for sir? He likes this stuff." As she mentioned him, a rare, genuine smile appeared on her lips. It was then the assistant realized her CEO was actually human. Around the person she liked. That tough, cold exterior completely melted away. "The other party wants to increase their profit margin," the assistant reported, remembering why she came. She told them, "Per our original plan, we were heading back tomorrow." The partner company was absolutely sure that Serena would eventually give in for the business deal, but they were dead wrong. At that exact moment, in a luxurious European estate, a man swirled red wine, asking the person beside him any news. "Smith, my friend, you're dead meat this time." Serena Sterling just had her assistant book a flight back to China for tomorrow. A blonde man nearly launched himself off the sofa, slamming his glass on the table. "What did you say?" They're really pulling out of the deal. Serena's business influence in Europe was not something to be messed with. Even the top players had to tread carefully. She came to negotiate in person, and this Smith character had the nerve to try and shake her down. How could she ever back down now? Smith was about to speak when his phone rang. He saw the name and his face went white as a sheet. He scrambled to answer. "Smith, you have some serious nerve making things difficult for Serena Sterling. I worked my tail off to get her to come to Europe, and you go and tick her off. You absolute idiot." Before Smith could explain, the other side hung up. Smith just stared blankly at his phone. It hadn't even been that long, and David already knew. The man next to him just shook his head. "Smith, this is only the beginning." And sure enough, after David's call, Smith got over a dozen more. Every single one was from someone he absolutely could not afford to offend. Their goal was unanimous: force him to apologize to Serena Sterling. From their tone, if he didn't apologize today, forget the deal. He wouldn't even be able to keep his own company. Do you know where Serena Sterling is? To protect his empire, Smith had no choice but to bend. The man beside him gave him an address. Whether you can even get a meeting with her now, that's all on you. That evening, her boyfriend was video calling Serena. A knock came at the door and the assistant entered. President, Mr. Smith is asking to see you. Tell him I'm not seeing him. The assistant nodded and left. The man on the call asked, "What's wrong? You don't look happy. Is work going okay?" Just some people whose greed is bigger than their brains. Model Serena explained the situation. This guy Smith tried to demand a 10% profit cut from her. Alex's expression soured. Her net worth is ranked globally, and this nobody named Smith actually dared to use shady tricks just to squeeze some money from her. He asked what she'd do. After all, his family had invited her, but since Smith clearly crossed a line, the partnership was officially off. She was flying back tomorrow. Alex's face lit up. "Then you have to bring me a present," he demanded, but she had an early flight. "What if I don't have time to buy one?" she teased, pretending to sound regretful. He shot her a glare through the screen and then abruptly ended the video call. Poking at his phone screen, he muttered about the big-shot CEO on her business trip. She won't even buy her husband a present. 1-star review. Meanwhile, Serena hadn't expected him to just hang up like that. She let out a helpless laugh, shaking her head. She plugged her phone in to charge and then went to get ready for bed. Down in the hotel lobby, Smith lingered for a long time, but still couldn't get a meeting. The assistant blocked his path. "Mr. Smith, our CEO is currently on a video call." "A call with her husband. I'm afraid she is unavailable to see you right now." Smith was fuming, but he didn't dare show it. "I can wait." The assistant just smiled politely. "Mr. Smith, our CEO has already decided to take the earliest flight. She's flying back to China tomorrow." Panic set in. Smith hurriedly blurted out, "We can sign the contract right now," but the assistant's reply was ice cold. "We cannot meet your conditions, so there is no need to sign this contract." Smith's face turned ugly. The assistant was clearly impervious to both threats and pleas. With no other options, he had no choice but to leave, ordering his men to keep watch, planning to ambush Serena the second she stepped outside. The assistant went back upstairs to report, "President Smith is still waiting outside." "Tomorrow we'll walk right past him," Serena simply responded with a quiet ahem. There was no reason to partner with someone like him. He just wasn't worthy. The next morning, the assistant loaded the luggage into the car before heading off to retrieve the gift Serena had bought for Alex. At the hotel entrance, Smith blocked Serena's path. "President Sterling, I need to speak with you." Serena was not pleased. She was highly displeased at being stopped, staring coldly at the man, refusing to budge. Instead, she pulled out her phone and called David. "David, I've given you enough face. Tell your dog to get the hell out of my way and stop blocking my path." Hearing that Smith was physically blocking her, David was so furious he nearly exploded. "President Sterling, put me on speaker," his voice demanded from the phone. David's furious voice roared from the phone, "Smith, you absolute idiot, get out." He had told Smith to go apologize, not to build a barricade to trap the woman. Terrified of making David even angrier, Smith had no choice but to step aside. He stood there, watching helplessly as Serena simply walked away. Back in the capital, the family driver was already waiting to pick them up. Serena didn't even look up as she ordered him to drive to the house. Ever since Alex hung up the call yesterday, he hadn't sent her a single text message. Looking at the blank chat, Serena shook her head with a helpless sigh. "My husband really has a temper." As she walked through the door, the butler greeted her. "Welcome home, madam." Handing off her luggage, Serena immediately looked around, but not seeing Alex, she frowned. "Where is Alex? Sir isn't feeling well. He's resting upstairs," the butler replied. Grabbing the gifts she'd bought, Serena hurried upstairs and gently opened the door. Inside, a small lump was huddled under the blankets. Serena quietly walked over. She sat on the bed's edge and looked at the girl's pale face. Her heart sank. Reaching out, she felt her forehead, so hot it had been 5 days. 5 days since Serena had left. When the girl woke up, she saw her lying right there. Beside her, a hand resting on her forehead, Serena asked gently, "Is the fever gone, do you?" "Still feel sick," the girl replied. "I feel much better," but a bitter taste made her wince. "Just a little thirsty." Serena immediately got up and poured her a glass of water. After she drank it, Serena continued, "The doctor came to check on you earlier. You have a fever. You need to take your medicine on time for the next few days. Once you recover, you'll need to eat some restorative foods to build your strength back up." The girl nodded, thinking she wanted to eat some pumpkin and millet porridge. "Okay, I'll have the chef make it for you," Serena said, then paused. "Oh, there are presents outside. When you get up, you can go open them." The girl looked at her suspiciously. "Huh, didn't you say you didn't have time to buy presents?" Serena pinched her cheek with a teasing smile. "I was just messing with you, who knew? You'd take it seriously." Thinking about how she'd hung up on her, a twinge of guilt hit. So she quickly shooed her out. "Go, go, go." After Serena left, our girl got out of bed, washed her face, and changed into a clean set of loungewear. She slipped on her slippers, excitedly going to open the gifts. Seeing the exquisite shopping bags on the floor, she hauled them onto the sofa and slowly unpacked them. The clothes inside were exactly her style, but the real highlight was the PC Philippe watch. It was absolutely stunning. Strapping the watch on her wrist, she tidied up the other items, then sluggishly went downstairs. Downstairs to find Serena, who was on the sofa, completely focused on her work. So she quietly snuck up behind her and wrapped her arms around Serena's neck. She held out her wrist right in front of her face. "Does it look good?" She thought to herself, if Serena dares say no, she's sleeping on the couch tonight. Serena stopped typing, turning to look at the girl hovering so close by. She smiled and nodded. Satisfied, the girl rested her chin on Serena's shoulder. Looking at the laptop screen, "What are you busy with? Did a lot of work pile up?" "While you were gone," Serena asked, "are you still feeling sick?" "Yeah, a little tired." Her head was still foggy, but way better than this morning. Hearing that, Serena immediately set her laptop aside and pulled her to sit down right next to her. "Stop standing around, sit here until it's time to eat." While waiting for food, she scrolled through her social media feed and saw an update from Damen, making her frown. She suddenly remembered she hadn't blocked him on everything yet. That guy, Damen, really had a talent for wrapping Khloe around his little finger. The poor girl was being used and didn't even realize it. Serena, who had resumed working, overheard her mumbling and grew curious about the relationship between Damen and Khloe. Turns out Damen has always liked Serena. He never liked Khloe at all. Being with Khloe was just a backup plan because he couldn't have Serena. In the original story, when Khloe's career reached its peak, he even tried to use Khloe's power to threaten Serena, wanting her to become his mistress. The result: Serena beat him to a pulp, if it wasn't for some highly influential people figure stepping in to beg. Those two would have lost absolutely everything. That repulsive man had wanted his wife, Serena, as a mistress. She internally praised herself, a true ultimate boss lady. Her radar for identifying scumbags was completely maxed out. Alex tilted his head, watching her. Suddenly, he wrapped his arms around her neck, planting a forceful kiss right on her lips. Serena was completely taken aback by this sudden display of affection, looking at him in total confusion. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," he thought to himself. This was a reward for his wife's excellent scumbag detection skills. Amused by this logic, Serena set her laptop down and snuggled into his arms. "Don't tease me right now." "I mean, you can," she added, "but you'll have to bear the consequences." He giggled and went back to scrolling through Damien's social media feed. Khloe had secured the third male lead role for Damen, who wasn't even mad. Serena leaned over to look. "I don't like him. Want me to replace him?" Alex shook his head decisively. "No need. This movie isn't going to air." In the original story, after this movie finished filming and went through post-production, right in the middle of a massive promo campaign, the lead actor gets hit with a huge scandal and goes to prison. The whole movie got shelved. It also lost over 100 million, and 10 million of that was Khloe's money. The thought of Khlo losing so much cash over Damen made him want to laugh. "Mr. Wood, madam, dinner is ready." After eating, Serena dragged him upstairs for his medicine. Just as he swallowed the pills, Damen sent a text. "Alex, Khloe introduced me to a famous director. You're not jealous, are you?" Reading that message gave Alex a full-body cringe. "Aren't you going to work?" "I'm so jealous of you. Unlike me, I only spend my wife's money." So Damen was trying to use Khlo to provoke him. He didn't even consider his own worth. Isn't his wife a million times better than Khloe? Richer, prettier, and she treats him incredibly well. Serena leaned on the sofa, staring intently at him, which startled Alex. "What are you staring at?" "Nothing." He gave her a side eye, confirming it was nothing, and kept waiting for Damien's reply. But it never came, which left him feeling a little let down. Was Damien's ego really that fragile? At that moment, Damen was staring at his phone, absolutely seething. He was so angry he wanted to strangle Alex. He forcefully suppressed his rage. He knew he had to play this role well to become famous. Otherwise, the Willow family would abandon him the second he stopped being useful to them. Once he was famous. Once Khlo controlled the Willow family, he swore he would make Alex and Serena wish they were never born. Thinking of his grand plans for their future, his mood slightly improved. Just then, a knock sounded at the door. Damen asked cautiously, "Who is it?" Knowing it was Khloe, he relaxed, got up, and opened the door with a bright smile. "Khloe, did your uncle and aunt call you home for something?" "Nothing major, just about you and Alex canceling the engagement." The recent cancellation had caused quite a bit of drama within the Willow family. After all, their business relied heavily on the Wood family. Thanks to Khloe making up excuses and smoothing things over, her family had temporarily stopped bringing it up. But her family definitely had a problem with Damen, but of course, Khloe didn't tell him. Damen immediately feigned a look of guilt. "Did they say anything mean? If not for me, things wouldn't have gotten this bad for you." Inside, he was celebrating his win, but on the outside, he played the poor victim. And this little trick worked perfectly. Khlo, that foolish girl. She instantly felt terrible for him, pulling him into a hug and softening her voice. "This has nothing to do with you. Alexander is just being petty." Damen tried to continue his act, but Khlo quickly cut him off. "Stop blaming yourself. My parents have basically given us their silent approval." With that, she pulled him inside to talk about the movie. "Once you finish filming, I'll line up another role for you." A gentle smile from Damen made Khloe's eyes absolutely sparkle. She felt like she'd just gotten one step closer to him. These past few days, Damen loved posting his dates with Khlo just to provoke Alexander. Alexander saw him as a total clown, but Damien's antics were getting way out of hand. Finally, he got a reaction. That night, Serena was lying in Alexander's arms. She was reading a book, his arms wrapped around her waist. He was completely content. He reached over, grabbing his phone from the nightstand. Serena put her book down and handed it to him. "What's wrong?" He just smirked, since Damen loves annoying him with his stupid games. It was only fair to trigger him right back. Serena paused, about to grab her book. And now she understood. He'd been so grumpy because of Damien's constant provocations. Alexander held up his phone, snapping a few pictures of them together. One photo deliberately focused on Serena's beautifully exposed collarbone. Seeing him take pictures, Serena gave up on reading entirely. She snuggled deeper into his arms, watching with keen interest to see his revenge plan. He didn't post it publicly. No, he sent it straight to Damien's private messages. He waited about 2 minutes and then recalled the message. "But if you unsend it, will he see it?" Serena asked, confused. "Oh, he saw it," Alexander said with total confidence. He knew Damen. The guy was absolutely glued to his phone at all times. And sure enough, Damen saw the picture. He was so furious. He launched his phone onto the carpet, grinding his teeth. Alexander, why don't you just die? At first, Damien thought Alexander was just bluffing. He believed Alexander was using Khloe just to make him jealous. He never expected this. Not only had his own plan failed, but he'd been hit back. He was left completely speechless with rage. He stared darkly at the screen. He wanted another look at Serena, but the photo was already gone. Damien instantly regretted not saving the picture. He was kicking himself. Serena's elegant posture, the curves just visible beneath her nightgown. It was everything he dreamed about constantly. He imagined himself in that picture. His hands gently tracing her skin as he thought about it. His nose started to itch. He wiped it, blood, a nosebleed. He scrambled to the bathroom to clean himself up after the bleeding stopped. A fierce determination burned in his eyes. He had to make Serena his. Damen glanced at his script, only 3 days of filming left. Once shooting was done, he would find Serena and prove he was the one. The only man truly suited for her. Meanwhile, her companion checked his dead phone. He sneered, wondering if Damon's brain had short-circuited from rage. Done teasing him, Serena asked, making him feel a bit embarrassed. Then shouldn't I be charging an appearance fee? He joked back. Before he could finish, she wrapped her arms around his waist, negotiation over. 3 days later, Damen finally finished his scenes, skipping the wrap party. He rushed straight back to the capital, obsessed with just one thought. How was he going to meet Serena? Getting into her company would be ideal. As he paced anxiously, Khloe arrived with some fantastic news. In 2 days, there was a charity auction called Jala, and she wanted him to come. For someone like Damen trying to break in, this was a golden opportunity. He would never pass up a chance to be seen. Serena also mentioned the event. She told her partner, who usually found these things incredibly boring. But she mentioned Khloe was invited and would definitely be bringing Damen. A wannabe actor like him wouldn't miss a chance like this for anything. Hearing those two were going, his enthusiasm suddenly skyrocketed. His plan, figure out exactly what those two clowns were plotting this time. Serena was immediately intrigued, knowing he would be able to overhear them. He could listen to Damen and Khloe's inner monologues. This was gonna be fun. While they were happily preparing, Damen had indeed been invited by Khloe. Khloe, if I go, won't your family be upset? Damen played the hesitant card. Don't worry about them, Khloe replied dismissively. Damen's mind raced. It was a charity gala, and she asked him to be her +1. They couldn't interfere. Right, satisfied, he immediately put on a look of sheer adoration. It was a look Khloe completely fell for. She held his arm tight. There will be a lot of important people there. I'll introduce you to some. It will be great for your career. This was exactly what Damen wanted. Getting in with those big shots was what really mattered. Khloe was just a tool. Just a stepping stone. He faked being moved and hugged Khloe tightly. Khloe, thank you. At his devoted expression, she felt like she was on cloud 9. She hugged him tighter, looking up and leaning in for a kiss. But Damen smoothly pushed her away. Khloe, I'm still on the film crew's radar. Even if we are indoors, what if someone walks in and sees us? Khloe was clearly displeased, but she reluctantly nodded in agreement. Seeing his chance, Damen quickly pecked her on the cheek. Don't be mad. I'm doing all this for our future, right? I want to stand beside you. That single kiss was all it took to make Khloe obedient again. Whatever you want, I will help you get, she promised, a glint of calculation. Flashed in Damen's eyes. I want Serena Sterling, can you help with that? Of course, he'd never dare say that out loud. The day of the auction arrived. Damen wore a bespoke suit with expensive accessories, all paid for by Khloe. He strutted confidently by her side, drawing the eyes of everyone who knew. People aware of the feud between the Wood and Willow families began to whisper. Zero class, he really stole the true young master's fiancée. Just wow. Plays that's old news. The real young master of the Wood family is now married into the Sterling family, and she is 100 times better than Khloe. Willow Damen, arm wrapped tight around Khloe, heard all the whispers. His face went absolutely sour, these loud-mouthed fools. How dare they say that right in front of him, but Khloe didn't argue back. She simply walked past, dropping one cold line: the one who isn't loved is the real third wheel. Damien and I are true love. Right then, Alexander and Serena arrived. They walked in just in time for that grand declaration. Alexander couldn't resist. He let go of Serena's hand and gave Khloe a slow clap. Bravo, so moving. So that's your excuse for hooking up with Damien while we were engaged.